marching and sitting in and granted, wasn't there. But
what do you define as liberation?
I don't define this as liberation.
What do you define as liberation?
I define liberation by getting back to par.
Economic status?
No, from every point of the spectrum.
What spectrum?
Good example. Currently, I'm a rapper.
Okay.
I make rap songs. Before I rapped, I was in finance. I'm not going to consider this rap thing a break even until I was where I was before I walked away. Now, that's just monetary, but that's just one example.
That's economic status.
You can't say that we are not affected to the same degree as the oppressor. And the reason,
say that.
Well, hold on. The reason I say that is because you're talking about a mentality that is so ingrained in the nature of who we are to this day, at this current point, that it's so messed up that you literally can't fight it without embracing some of it. What kind of problem is that? That you can't clean up the fucking shit in your bathroom unless you and lick around the toilet. Do that. That's the same situation.
You have to get more specific though, because
when
you're talking about what we're trying to get or progress, it sounds like you're talking purely about economic status.
Well, how can you love yourself?
Let me say, if I'm a rapper and I want to do rap, and that's in me. Well, maybe I'm not doing it to attain anything. Maybe I'm doing it to express myself as an artist, as purely as an artist. And I don't care what anyone has to say. And there are people who are ignorant of my art. And they say, your art is not art. But now that I can make money off my art, that legitimizes it. Why can't it just be art? And why can't I say you're ignorant of my art and feel sorry about it? Not to feel sorry about it, but to say, you know what, I feel sorry for you that you don't see the beauty of what I do.
Because not seeing the beauty.
But why does that person have to be stupid?
Hold on.
I think that's a big indictment that you made. I think that's wrong.
Because looking at a situation.
Hold on. Gail, what did you just say?
I just said it's dangerous because if the people in power are the ignorant ones, that's when it becomes dangerous. So how do we change that?
But at the same time, the cycle you're talking about breaking sounds like economic wealth.
It's not just.
And if I'm talking purely about economics, I'm playing into the system they created. So I can only be somebody if I have money.
But it's not economics.
Stockholm Syndrome?
It's one big hardcore case of Stockholm Syndrome.
We're all patty hearses?
Whereas you can't love yourself fully if everything you know about yourself has been taught to you by your captor. It goes into a situation of how socialism will never take root in this country.
But how does
we don't view ourselves as an exploited proletariat. We view ourselves as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. You can go the whole John Steinbeck thing, blah, 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 blah. The fact of the matter is, we don't view ourselves as hostages. Now, the problems that we are facing today aren't indigenous to our nature. And by that, I mean you can research anywhere we are, anywhere on this spinning ball of dirt and water. We don't have certain problems until certain people grab us and fuck with our heads. You know, you could say, well, they were enslaving each other over in Africa. No, they weren't. And I don't refer to that as slavery. You can say, well, we're doing better now than we were before. No, we weren't, because we were more literate 50 years ago. Segregation, we actually kind of benefited from it a little bit if you look at how we are today.
We just had that discussion.
Yeah,
so based on the fact that we were better when we were by ourselves, you can't say, I can't say that I feel sorry for people who don't understand and grasp my beauty as though I'm a blossoming fucking petunia. I'm not.
That made me horny. That made me horny.
And the fact that I'm a victim, thank you, that happens sometimes. You can't make it.
Bye, man.
I don't know but one, I said none of those things.
But I didn't say that it had anything to do with capitalism.
But we decided it wasn't sympathetic.
It is.
It's
not.
But
here's why I view it as sympathy.
It's more of an indictment.
Here's why I see it as sympathy.
Because you don't have the privilege. This is what James Baldwin was saying. You don't have the privilege of understanding who I am because you won't allow yourself to.
You stupid
You are
shit.
an imbecile.
But how can I grasp that philosophy when I don't have the privilege of understanding who I am?
Well, that's something that you have to deal with yourself.
But it's not.
It is.
I'm a fucking hostage.
That's something you have to deal with yourself.
We all in terms of
African Americans in this country, we don't know where we come from. We don't know our lineage. We don't know if my great great or whatever was a queen. We don't know that. We're ignorant to that. So we're ignorant to that. They're ignorant to it because they don't.
Let's take it. Can we take it?
Hold on, let Crystal finish.
They're ignorant. We're ignorant to that because we just don't know. Like you said,
I get that. I don't disagree with that.
But they don't know because our history was.
But let's put it into context.
It was washed away.
Let's put it into
Done.
context. When you're talking about James Baldwin, you're talking about someone who went back and studied his history. You're talking about someone who went back and got an inkling of his heritage and where he came from. He understood that his people weren't, as he said, junglemen. They weren't Tarzan, swinging from tree to tree. He understood that. So when he said, I feel sorry for you, it wasn't sympathetic. It was an indictment.
Right.
You have chained me.
White America didn't understand at this period.
You don't know who I am.
But I think his point is, I think his point
I understand his point, but I have a problem with him saying that people who look that way are stupid.
No,
I have a problem with
but I
that.
think at the end of the day,
I
I
can
think.
defend it. Trust me.
Okay, I just wanted to make a different point.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
All right.
The fact of the matter is, I can't 100% fully ingratiate myself in a society that has not only profited, plundered, but made a fucking career out of killing, murdering, and destroying brown people.
Granted.
Not just me, but just
that
brown
has nothing
people.
to do
But
with the statement.
it does, because
It doesn't.
when I find myself in a situation, and that situation may be anything from denied equal pay to deny the right to go outside because there's a bunch of motherfuckers in spook costumes saying, nigga, we'll kill you! Based on those two separations, right, I can't 100% be comfortable. I can't go over that. I can't jump over my lack of comfortability by staying and remaining quiet and complacent and playing
James
within the
Baldwin wasn't
boundaries.
quiet or
But I'm not
complacent
James
about
Baldwin.
anything.
And I'm not a person that can go, good example, no, just hold on one second, let me make this
Women were
point.
brought to the state
It's the
if they
same
weren't
reason when
married.
you have urban youths who don't like police. It's the same situation if I feel bad for them because they don't understand the beauty of my community. I know sometimes there's crimes being committed, but it's a crime of community. The laws that were set up contradict how we interact with each other.
Wait.
So I feel sorry for the police who don't understand how beautiful it is to crack a fire hydrant on a hot summer day. Look at those kids playing.
That's exactly what he was talking
But
about.
I
So
can't
white
feel
man-
sorry for
But
them.
you just said you did.
I'm sorry.
No,
White
I'm saying
man
this is
does
one
not
thing.
understand like
and
what
then-
he does not understand. Apparently, white man of the power that be, okay, with women as well, because if women were not married and producing children, they called them witches and burned them and killed them. Okay? If white man does not understand, he destroys it. So, through education, we've come around that. Where are we now with this?
Are we really that much? We are still, in essence, the Coliseum spectators who lust for a good show.
So
How far are we?
So this comes. It comes to
Five
this.
years.
It comes to the solution-based part of this discussion. How do we rectify and combat racism? Is there any way to rectify and combat racism?
Education?
Is it natural? Is it natural as just being a different color?
How can you, at
Naturally
the same
come up?
time, and I think education is a great point, how can you educate someone you hate? And I think that's what James Baldwin's big thing was. And one of his major points was, yeah, I feel sorry for these people. I'm not sympathetic to them. This is an indictment. You know what I'm saying? This is an insult. But it's up to black people to educate them. Because they don't know better. A child is not born with hate in their heart. A child is taught hate.
So you're trying to say there should be a school in which white kids could go and
I'm not
learn
saying
black
that there
history?
should be
No,
a
it's
school.
just in general,
But
when
they're
you're
doing
taught
that
culture
now.
in school, it should be a broad
It's conditioning.
spectrum of culture. It should be, and most of the time you learn a lot of your hate from your own damn parents.
And he
So
goes,
it's like,
and you know what, to make a
so
point to what he was saying,
So right.
and he was like, you know what, I'm not this person. We were kings, we were queens,
I didn't say that.
we were literate. You didn't say that? I thought you said that we were literate way beyond whatever. Either way, we weren't swinging from trees to trees. There's a whole history of
So-
black culture that goes far beyond American culture.
So
And
you're
that's
Black
not in
American
schools
culture.
today.
And it's not in
We don't even
school.
know what that
Is it in
is.
schools?
And that was
Black
it's not, and that was the
people
point that James Baldwin was also making. He was saying, "I'm not that person," and you don't know.
So you're trying
And he
to
was
say
saying it's a bigger crime that we don't know.
the
It should be in
solution,
schools today.
Right.
the solution to rectifying and combating racism is education.
Right.
I think
What do you
so.
think?
I don't think it's my responsibility to educate the person that's busting my ass as to why I'm a sensitive.
Educate
So they're gonna
everybody.
continue busting your ass.
Everybody.
Unless-
Educate
They're going to
everyone.
continue busting your
No,
ass.
that's
You
not
too.
that's not
Education of black people
that's
also.
that's not the historical evidence when you go in places where there was actual revolt. I think that the nature of the situation, when you reference James Baldwin, I think you have to reference the time frame in which he lived in, where integration was key. I'm not speaking as an integrationalist. I'm speaking as you keep your steps clean, I'll keep my steps clean, we'll have a wonderful neighborhood. But I'm not going to go out of my way and bend over and break my back for someone else to show me the compassion they should show me just being.
So how do we clean our steps?
I was on those buses.
How do we
So let me reference this. Based on that fact, and this is not to denigrate that. This is just my personal question. Based on the fact that you were on those buses, and that means, I mean, neither one of us is 18 years old.
Right.
We can both look back and remember the Bugs Bunny cartoon where he took every opportunity to put on blackface and say, "Mammy!"
Yeah.
So based on the fact that you come from there and we're here, where we went from, I mean, think about just going outside in the 60s and 70s.
It was scary.
Someone, well hold on, but just the nature of someone. Someone got presentable to go outside.
Right.
Someone took pride in who they were.
Yeah.
The black communities were not ghettos and haven for crime and debauchery. The black communities were just another ghetto, the same way the Jews and the Irish and the
Yeah,
Italians
my
had
white trash
ghettos.
got busted over there, and their trash got
And
busted
the
over here.
concept of busing was to put us together so we can learn
Right,
from each other.
right.
Unfortunately, what
We
I don't
fought.
think they took account of is the fact that because we've been ingratiated with the white supremacist philosophy, and we're so wanting to be accepted as equals, we never took the time to stand apart and say, well, this is who we are by ourselves. And the times in which we did, in cases like Greenwood, Archer, and Pine, when we didn't need outside help, and a black dollar circulated 16 times before it left, people came in and murdered us. So I don't think you can take a people who have been murdered every time they try to do for themselves without the system and say that, oh, well, we should just say fucking and get along. I'm not saying you're saying
Rushed
that.
into black neighborhoods, I would run for my life.
And when
running from
we
people
did the
wanting to hurt
same.
me.
But we did the same when we were busting the white neighborhoods, and it was
We
the
were
chant.
just-
I don't come from a haven or a Mecca or a fucking melting pot. Now, I'm from where I was the only black kid in my class growing up until I was around high school. I remember when hip hop hit, and I was like, man, fuck y'all. And they were like, why are you so mad? Because I remember when I couldn't have dinner at your house because your dad is prejudiced, and now it's Biggie and Tupac. Fuck out of here.
So,
Yeah.
but Gail,
I remember that.
Gail brought up a
Now,
point.
how can someone, and here's my real question, this is not to cut you off, but how can someone, from the people who grew up with you to the people who had not even a generation, but just a similar experience to me, how can we feel the need to, well, okay, that happened, but fuck it. All right, you got one over on me, but fuck
Never
it,
forget.
and move on.
Never
So how
forget.
can I keep my memories and move on and see myself as an equal without retribution? And I'm not saying
And what is the
40 acres in a
retribution? What is the
mule.
retribution?
It should never be forgetting, but we have to somehow rectify
forgive?
the situation.
When-
Not
when-
It
forgive.
doesn't have to be forgive.
Well, if there's no forgiving and there's no forgetting, then we're claiming. And I'm not saying racism.
Where's the retribution in your book?
The retribution, if there is an
If it's not 40 acres.
if there is an example, if we can.
I'm still trying to get what the
Last
solution
statement.
is.
To racism.
Exactly. Is your solution simply revolt?
My solution, for the record, and I'll go on record for saying this.
Yeah, I just want to know.
My solution is always revolt. But
Yeah,
since-
okay.
but-
Now,
but
now,
since
now, I
that's
have
not-
I have a point to make.
But since that's not viable,
But let's say it
it's not a
is.
viable option.
Let's say it is. What happens after a revolt?
Well,
Then what happens?
Well, the only thing we can do is look to history. What happened after the French
Do you
Revolt?
think that the people who are tired, who are in the position they've had, their back is against the wall, they have no choice but to fight, and they're ill-equipped for progressing an entire country? If they revolt an entire country, you think they can rebuild an entire country?
Why do you think strikes worked and labor unions were so popular?
That's not the question I'm asking you. That's different.
You
You're
don't
dealing
have
with
to
a class of
go-
people who have some sort of, You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now you're talking about people who are in the slums of the slums. They have nothing
But every black
except
person
of what's inside of them.
Most of us aren't like that though.
So
I'm
only
not-
the black are going to revolt and the poor white are going to
No.
what?
No.
That's where my solution to racism.
Hold on.
But here's the but that's
Hold
my,
on.
no. Let me. But that's my point. I'm not saying we're all like that. Clearly, we're not.
Mhm.
But now that you have the have-nots
Mhm.
and you have the haves, we got rid of the haves. Now what do you have now? A bunch of haves? No, you don't have a bunch of haves. You have now the people who were quote unquote niggers. It's all niggers, whether they're white or black. The people who were abandoned by this country.
Mhm.
You still have haves and have-nots.
The solution.
Because
to
now there's a
racism-
group that has more and there's a group that has
So
less.
that's
You
not-
have continual
the
fighting.
But the solution to racism doesn't lie in racism. And it's
No, it
not-
doesn't.
The solution to racism
It lies in
lies
education.
It lies in classism.